start, you're going to need a regular domestic sewing machine, and we're using a Singer Heavy Duty, your fabric, a sweatband, and these sweatbands are available at capsupplyco.com, a closure for the back, and bias tape or a bias tape kit. Either one will work. And lastly, your pattern, and this pattern is available at properfitclothing.com. So go ahead and cut your pattern out on the outside of the black lines. Next, you're going to lay your pattern on your fabric, trace it, and cut it out. And for this step, we're just using a standard twill. And if you're looking to use twill as well, we provided a link in the description. So when you get it all cut out, you're going to need 2 sides and 2 tops. So next you want to take your 2 tops, place the right sides together, and sew just along that top edge, and do about a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you get those sewn together, go ahead and cut the excess fabric off. Next, grab your side panel and place the curved edge right side on the right side of the top. That sounds a little bit confusing, but it's super simple. Just start at the front and work your way around that curve, and make sure to use a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then go ahead and do this for both side panels. This part can be a little bit tricky. Just kind of work with it. Keep straightening out that side panel as you sew along that top panel. You pretty much want to act like you're sewing a straight line. And then once you get it all sewn together, go ahead and cut that excess fabric off. And again, go ahead and do the same thing for the other side panel. Flip it right side out, and here you go. This is a start to your crown. And now we're going to be showing you how to set up your twin needle. And this is super simple. Just install like a normal needle, set your machine to zigzag with 0 width, and thread 2 spools of thread the same exact way. We're going to show you 2 different options for adding on your bias tape, and these are just 2 different bias tape folders. The one on the right is just one you can get at any hobby store, and the one on the left is available at capsupplyco.com. We are going to be using the one on the left just because it's a little bit easier for us to use, and we've been using it for a while. But honestly, they both do the same thing, so use whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever one you're using, line it up with your presser foot and then just tape it right on your machine. You definitely are going to want to make sure this is secure so that way nothing's moving around when you're sewing on that bias tape. Now all you have to do is cut your bias tape to the measurement of the folder and you're ready to start sewing. Once you have your bias tape binder all set up, you can go ahead and use whatever bias tape you want. And bias tape is just cut out on a bias of whatever fabric you're using. And we're using the same fabric as we're using for this hat, so it's just a twill. Then all you have to do is place that seam in the center of those twin needles and just feed it right through, all the way around that curve, and then all the way around the center, and then all the way around the other curve. And again, take your time on this part. It might take a little bit to get used to this. You kind of want to work with it, work with the fabric, kind of go around that curve. Don't go too fast or else you might mess up and you might have the seam kind of look a little bit bunched up. Ours kind of looks a little bit this way, but that's nothing a little bit of steaming at the end can't fix. Going to be the easiest because it's just a straight shot all the way through. Once you have your bias tape on, go ahead and grab your side strip and sew this along the inside all the way around the bottom edge. And if you're looking for any of these professional cap supplies, just go to capsupplyco.com. They have a wide variety of everything you need to make a professional looking cap. And adding a side strip really helps out with the bottom structure and folding over and adding the sweatband on later in the process. And next we're going to use some double folded bias tape to cover up that back opening on the cap. And again, you can use your bias tape maker to really actually make bias tape that matches a cap, but we're just showing you this way because it's super simple and you can get this at pretty much any hobby store. But I definitely will recommend using fabric that actually matches a cap. It just makes it look way better. Next, we're going to be making the brim sleeve. And you can either use a bigger normal brim, or for this one, we're going to be using a smaller brim just because I feel like it flows with the 4-panel a little bit better. It kind of looks more like a cycling cap. But it doesn't matter, whatever brim you're using, it's still made the same way. So go ahead and just follow the same steps. So go ahead and trace your brim out and then just cut out that panel because you're going to be sewing around that edge. And these different types of brims are available at capsupplyco.com, so go on and check that out if you're really looking to use a shorter brim. So pretty much all you have to do is just stitch right on that line. And then once you have it stitched, go ahead and cut a 1/4 inch away from that seam. This will allow you to have space to fold it under the brim when you flip it inside out and insert the brim. So go ahead and flip that sleeve inside out and then just start maneuvering that brim inside of that sleeve. And like I said before, you're going to want to make sure the brim is on one side of that excess fabric on the inside because you want the top of the brim to look nice and flat. Then once it's all nice and aligned, just push it in really tight because you want it to be as tight as possible. And then you're going to sew along that inside edge to lock the brim into place. And we are going to be using a zipper foot so we can get really close to the inside edge of that brim. Next, we're going to be adding the brim stitches, and there's multiple ways you can do this. You can use different styles of guides, like magnetic ones or adjustable guides just like this. And this one's specifically designed to do brims. It's super easy to use, and it's mainly used for industrial machines, but we also offer them for domestics. And if you want one of those, just go to capsupplyco.com. But for this video, we're just going to go freestyle on it, and we're just going to see how good we can actually get it. And of course, it's not going to be perfect, but it's not going to be too bad. And a little tip, if you're doing it this way, just use the same color thread because it's going to blend in more with the fabric and be less noticeable. But again, I highly recommend using a guide if you're going to be making a lot of these because they just turn out way nicer and it's just a lot easier step. And here's an example of what they look like when they're done with the guide, just like super perfect. So next, go ahead and mark the middle of your brim, and you're gonna line it up with the middle of your crown. And we're gonna start at the middle and just start sewing around. And this is where attaching the crown to the brim. So get as close as you can to the inside of the brim with the crown. Then once you have one side complete, go ahead and flip it around and sew the other side into position. Then once you have it sewn on, go ahead and cut the excess fabric from the inside of the brim. And from here, your cap is starting to come together. It's looking more so like a cap than I did before, but a few more steps and it's gonna be looking way more professional. Now we're gonna be attaching the sweatband. This step, we made our own attachment, and we made this out of heavier stock paper. All you have to do is make a little sleeve that your sweatband fits in there nice and snug, and then go ahead and tape that onto your sewing machine. It serves as a guide so that way the sweatband doesn't slide all around while you're sewing it onto the crown. Once you have your sweatband guide into position, go ahead and roll over the edge and then just start sewing straight all the way around. And it is really that simple. You get a nice top stitch on the outside and the sweatband will be nice and attached on the inside. And we are using professional sweatbands from capsupplyco.com. These are millinery grade and very awesome for making caps. And now we're going to be adding on a plastic snap to the back for a closure. You can literally add whatever you want onto the back. Cap Supply Co. has a huge variety of different components you can add for closures. So go ahead and roll that sweatband over towards the inside and sandwich that plastic component in between and just sew that right on. And it is really just that simple, and go ahead and do this for the other side. I do recommend using a heavier weight needle for this process because you are sewing through a decent amount of material. Now we're going to be adding air vents to the cap, and we're just using eyelets. You pretty much just want them to be evenly spaced and centered in each panel. Once you have your marks, go ahead, cut holes, put your eyelets in, and press them into place. And if you don't have a press, pliers work just as good for eyelets. But if you're looking for any tools that we're using specifically, we post all the links in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. Go ahead and repeat this process for the other side, and your cap is pretty much complete. Just add your branding on it and you are all set to go. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you learned a lot about making a cap. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think. If you have any ideas, send them our way, and we're going to keep the videos coming at you, so we'll see you next time.